Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. In this video, we are going to cover all the key concepts of paper 1 binomial expansion as part of A-level maths. So let's begin. So first of all, what is binomial? Binomial is basically expressions like these, A plus B. We've got two terms, right? And you've got some power over them. So for example, A plus B whole raised to power 1, that just evaluates to A plus B. But we've seen higher powers than that. For instance, we know how to expand A plus B whole square. That's A square plus 2AB plus B square. Some of you might even know how to expand A plus B whole cube already, which looks like this. But what happens if we increase this power to something higher than that, while keeping it as a positive integer? What if I raise it to the power, let's say 8 or maybe 12? What happens in that case? How do you expand expressions like that? Okay, so we've got this formula for that. A plus B whole raised to power n. The condition here is that the power n has to be a positive integer. How does it look like? It's A raised to power n plus nc1 into A raised to power n minus 1 into B raised to power 1, and so on. So what's happening is, in every subsequent term, the power of this first term A is decreasing. So pehle nth, then it's n minus 1, then it's n minus 2, and so on. The powers of A are decreasing. And the powers of the second term, they are going to be increasing. Pehle B raised to power 0, essentially, because there's nothing in terms of B. But then you've got 1, 2, and so on. So the powers of A keep decreasing, the powers of B keep increasing. Then you got this expression NC something in the middle. So you have this calculator, but note that that's NCR. Okay. So for example, if you have to evaluate 6C4, what are you going to do? You're going to input 6 in your calculator, then you'll press this NCR button, and then you'll press 4, and you'll get the result for this 6C4. Okay. I think it turns out to be 15. You can try that in your calculator. You have 6C4 equals 15, I think. Okay, so that's how you evaluate the C thing on your calculator. Okay, in the formula sheet that will be given in the exam, you will have a form like this: N1, N2, N3. On the calculator that you have, it's this form. It's just another way of writing the same thing. We will discuss combinations and detailed statistics later on. In any case, but ये जो notation है NCR, another way of writing that same thing is NR. So formula sheet में ये वाली notation use की होती है. You can change it to N1, NC1, NC2, NC3 like this. Okay. So this is the formula that we have. We will learn how to use this, and you have to know that the power here n has to be a positive integer. Okay, that's the key thing that you have to remember. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say you've got this formula and you want to expand this expression using this formula. This is x plus 2y whole raised to power 4. So what do you do for this? The first term is a. So the first term is x here. If we compare with the formula, a corresponds to x, right? So that's a. Then you've got plus b. So in our case, we've got 2y. So b corresponds to 2y. And the power is n. In our case, the power is 4. All you have to do after this point is you just have to input values in the formula. So like how a raised to power n, you write x raised to power 4 here, plus nc1. You've got nc1 here. N is 4 for us, and then c1. A power n minus 1, you say x cubed. Then you've got b raised to power 1. So b raised to power 1, it's 2y raised to power 1, and so on. You see the powers of x, which was essentially a, they keep decreasing: 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. And the powers of b, which is 2y, they keep increasing like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, and the numbers that you have under at the bottom of C here, that's also increasing: 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, then you just simplify everything after this point, and you get your final expression. That's the expansion of that thing. Okay, so that's how you use this formula. Now let's take some examples. Let's look at some different types of questions that you'll be dealing with now. So let's say you've got the first 3 terms and the expansion of this 2 plus ax whole raised to power n given, they are given to be 32 minus 40x plus bx squared. So you're given the first three terms. Using this information, you have to find the values of the constants n, a, and b. So you've got the first three terms in the expansion given. What you can do for this is you can do your own expansion, right? So you've got 2 plus ax whole raised to power n. What you do is using this binomial formula, it's going to be given in the formula sheet. You'll have this formula in front of you when you're doing this. You just input values. Again, a corresponds to 2, b corresponds to ax, and n corresponds to n here. We don't have the value of n. Just expand this, use the formula given to expand the first three terms. Apne first three terms find clearly, right? So you get something like this. You simplify this, you get something like this. You simplify this now. हमने थोड़ा simplify किया. Of course, NC1, NC2 तो evaluate नहीं कर सकते हम at this point. But simplify करके you got something like this. But now you were given that the first three terms are actually these 32 minus 40x plus bx squared. So all you do at this point is you compare the two. You've got the constant 2 raised to power n in your expansion. The constant that was given in their form was 32. So you say 2 raised to power n should be equal to 32. Similarly, the coefficient of x that you are getting here is this thing. And the coefficient of x that was given to you is minus 40. So you equate both of them as well because they should be equivalent. And similarly, the coefficient of x squared that you found from your expansion is this, and it was given to be b in the question itself. So you have this third equation from that. Using these three equations now, what you can do is you can find the values of n, a, and b. Okay, so you get the value of n from the first equation. You put that in the second equation. So आपके पास a आ जाएगा. You put the values of n and a in the third equation, and you get the value of b from that as well. Okay, so that's one type of problem that you may have to deal with. Let's have a look at this. So we have the first three terms in the expansion of 2 minus y whole raised to power 5 in ascending powers of y. We have to find the first three terms in ascending powers of y. So we know how to expand this. You can just formula use करना है, उसके अंदर values input कर देनी है. But the second part is important. It says use the result in part 1 to find the coefficient of x square in the expansion of this thing. Now it's no longer two terms, it's three terms essentially. However, it says use the result in part 1. Now what's similar in part 1 in this? If you compare the two, you had 2 minus y whole raised to power 5 there. You've got 2 minus something else whole raised to power 5 is. The only difference is instead of y there, you've got this whole thing that's 2x minus x squared. So all you do at this point is you say, I got this expansion in the first part. मैंने first part में expand कर लिया था. I got this 2 minus y whole raised to power 5 is equal to this thing. The first three terms are these. Now, what I have to do is I have to find the coefficient of x squared and the expansion of this thing. इसकी expansion में x raised to power square का coefficient find करना है. Now, what's similar between them? We see here y की जगह पे आपके पास 2x minus x square आ रहा है. So what we do is in the expansion on the right side as well, we replace y with 2x minus x square. तो आपने y की जगह पे क्या किया? 2x minus x square डाल दिया यहाँ पे. Okay, and यहाँ पे भी. And then you just expand those two things. अब इसको simplify कर लेना इसके बाद. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so you simplify it after this. ठीक है. Or simplify करके, you see what the coefficient of x squared turns out to be. You can just ignore the rest of the terms because आपको x squared चाहिए सिर्फ. So x squared terms are this and this. You add both of them up, you end up with 400x squared at the end. So the coefficient of x squared therefore is 400. Okay, so sometimes you have to do substitution like this if you've got something similar to what you've already expanded. Okay, let's have a look at this. So now this is another type of question that comes that you have to find the coefficient of a specific term in some expansion. So for instance, you have to find the coefficient of x in the expansion of 3x minus 2 over x whole raised to power 5. Now there are two main methods of doing it. One is that you just expand it using the normal formula that you have. You've got this binomial formula, you expand it, right? And you see, you figure out where the term in x turns out to be. Okay, so a lot of times you will find the required term in the first few terms. However, if you do not find it in the first few terms, you'll have to expand a bit more. Uske liye we can use a trick, and that trick is the powers that you will be getting in binomial expansion, they always follow a pattern. So in this case, for instance, you see the power that you were getting from the first term, it's x raised to the power 5. From the second term, it's x raised to the power 4 here and x in the denominator. So the overall power turns out to be 3. Then in the third term, we've got x cubed here and we've got x square in the denominator. So the overall power turns out to be x raised to the power 1. And if you look at the pattern that emerges from here, you're subtracting 2 in every subsequent term, right? So the powers of a binomial expansion, the powers of the variable that you will have in every binomial expansion, they will be in an arithmetic sequence always. वो एक linear sequence follow कर रही होंगी, यानी कि difference हमेशा constant हुआ करेगा उनके अंदर. So that will help you figure out a pattern in your expansion. So यहाँ पे तो हमें x का coefficient चाहिए था. We found that in the third term already. अगर हमें कोई और चाहिए होता, we know the pattern now. X raised to the power 5, then 3, then 1. We know कि 2 subtract कर रहे हैं हर term में से, so the next should be -1, the next should be -3, and then it should be -5. So we could find any particular term there. यहाँ पे we found the third term to be to contain x. हमें ये चाहिए थी, so we ignore everything else. We just expand, we just simplify this term only, and that gives us the coefficient that we're looking for. इसको simplify कर लिया हमने. We found the coefficient of x there, that turns out to be 1080. But now, sometimes you will not find the required coefficient in the first few terms. Let's have an example. Let's have a look at an example like that. So we have to find the term independent of x. अच्छा, independent of x का मतलब क्या होता है? We're looking for a term that does not have an x in it. So क्या मतलब है? We're looking for constant essentially. Constant के लिए या फिर अभी भी कह सकते हैं we're looking for the term that has x raised to power 0, right? Because that's just 1. तो x जहाँ पे नहीं है this term के अंदर. We're looking for the power of x. We're looking for the term that has x power 0. Okay. So again, using the method that we just discussed, we use our normal binomial expansion formula. 4x cubed plus 1 over 2x whole raised to the power 8. This is the expansion that we have to do. We use the formula. We find the first two terms. Okay. Now the first term is 4x cubed whole raised to the power 8. The power of x that we're getting here is 24. This is the power of x that we're getting here, right? 3 into 8, that's 24. And the second term, we've got 3 into 7, that's 21. And we've got x raised to the power 1 in the denominator. So that's x raised to the power 21 minus 1. And that is x raised to the power 20. And as I said, the powers always follow a linear sequence or an arithmetic sequence. So the difference here is -4. What that means is the next term should be x raised to the power 16. Uske baad x to the power 12 hona chahiye. Then you should have 8, then 4. And finally, you will have 0. And that's the term that you're looking for. Okay, what term aapko chahiye? So how do you write down that term now? So again, as we know how the powers behave, they decrease gradually. So aap dekhen a ki power, yani the first term thi yahan pe 4x cube, uski power yahan pe kya thi? It was 8. We started from 8. Okay, we started from 8, then it reduced to 7. So we started from 8, then it became 7. Next, we've got 6, 5, 4, 3. And when we reach x raised to the power 0 there, it should be 2 here. Okay. Achha. Similarly, if we look at the powers of b, the second term, what are they? They starting from 1. So the next should be 2 after that, then 3, 4, 5. So when we reach that point, it should be 6. You can verify this, verify your working as well by making sure both of them add up to 8 at that point. Okay, अब आपने क्या करना है? So remember, ये जो नीचे वाला c के नीचे वाला number होता है, this is also the same as the power that you have on b. तो वो भी आप देखें वही pattern follow करे. It's starting from 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, and finally you've got 6 here. So you've got the you've got the powers that you needed there. You know कि 8 के नीचे वाला number यहाँ पे 6 होना चाहिए. So you've got 6 here. 4x cube की power 2 होनी चाहिए. You've got power 2 here. And similarly, b की power क्या होनी चाहिए? It should be 6. You've got 6 here. And now you simplify this, you get your final result like this. ठीक है, इसको simplify करेंगे. Eventually, you'll also verify कि आपके पास x नहीं आना चाहिए, so x should cancel out at the end. So this is the term that we were looking for. This is the constant term. Okay, so this is one way to find a particular coefficient in expansions like these. There's another way to do it, and that's called the general term formula. Now, this is not going to be given in the formula sheet. So if you want to use this, we have to remember this. We've got this general term formula for a binomial expansion. Now, it comes from the binomial expansion formula itself, but you'll have to remember this. It's easier than deriving at that point. So you've got this formula NCR a raised to power n minus r b raised to power r. The point is, every term in the binomial expansion follows that pattern. इस pattern को follow करती है. NCR a raised to power n minus r into b raised to power r. The only difference that is there in every term is this value of r. R की value change होती रहती है, आपको different terms मिलती रहती हैं. So if we know the value, if we can find the value of r for the term that we are looking for, we will be able to figure out the coefficient, the term that we want. R की value चाहिए. Remember, for example, यहाँ पे अगर मैं 0 input कर दूँ, R की value I get NC0 a raised to power n b raised to power 0. That's the first term. अगर R की value 1 input कर दूँ, I get NC1 a raised to power n minus 1 b raised to power 1. If I input R equal 2, I get NC2 a raised to power n minus 2 b raised to power 2. So the only thing that changes in every term is this value of R, and we want to find the value of R here. Now, how are we going to do that? So we've got this expression 4x cubed plus 1 over 2x whole raised to power 8. Now we compare it with the standard form. The standard form is a plus b whole raised to power n. And we find what are the values of a, b, and n here. So instead of a, we've got 4x cubed. Instead of b, we've got 1 over 2x. Instead of n, we've got 8 here. हमने क्या करना है? ये तीनों values यहाँ पे general term formula में input कर देनी है. So we have the value of n. We've got the value of a, which is 4x cubed, and we've got the value of b, which is 1 over 2x. So आपने सब कुछ input कर दिया. The only thing that's unknown here is the value of r. अगर हमें r मिल जाए यहाँ पे, we will be able to find what we are looking for. अच्छा, what are we looking for? It's the same question that we found that we were doing before using the other method. You're looking for the term that is independent of x. यानी कि we're looking for the constant term. यानी कि x की power 0 होनी चाहिए. So once you have input these values here, what you want to do now is you only want to focus on the x. X की powers पे सिर्फ focus करना है. Ignore everything else for now. X हमारे पास क्या है? We've got x cube here, and that is raised to the power 8 minus r. So we've got x cube, and that raised to power 8 minus r. एक x हमारे पास यहाँ पर है. We've got another x here that's here in the denominator. तो इसकी अगर हम power यहाँ पे denominator में power इसकी r है, तो if we take this to the numerator, it becomes x raised to power minus r. Now we try to simplify this and add the powers. 3 into 8 minus r, ये आपके पास क्या बन गया? It's 24 minus 3r. And then you subtract this r from that. Since the bases are the same, we can add the powers. We get 24 minus 3r minus r. And that gives us 24 minus 4r. And that is the power of x that we've got in this expansion, in this general term formula. Now, what do we want? We're looking for the term that is independent of x. यानी कि we're looking for the term that has x power 0. तो आपने क्या करना है? इस power को 0 कर देना है. So 24 minus 4r equals 0. ठीक है, आपने उसको 0 के equal कर दिया because you want the power of x to be 0. So 24 minus 4r equals 0. That is going to give you the value of r. Once you have the value of r, all you want to do after that point is, all you have to do at that point is you put that value of r back in that formula that you had. इसके अंदर r की value input कर दो, and you will get the term that you were looking for. Okay, so you get the value of the term that you're looking for. यहाँ पे आपने r की जगह 6 input कर दिया उस general term formula के अंदर. Once you find the value of r, and now you can just simplify this and get a result. अब यहाँ पे क्योंकि हमें x raised to power 0 चाहिए वाली term चाहिए थी, that is the reason we equated the power of x to 0 here. If we were looking for some other term, for example, if we were looking for the coefficient of x squared, let's say, if that exists, although it doesn't exist in this particular expansion, is let's say we were looking for the coefficient of x raised to power 4, हमें ये चाहिए होता, तो हम क्या करते हैं, हम 24 minus 4r को 4 से equate करते हैं, because that is the power that we were looking for. और यहाँ से हमारे पास r की value जो आती, that would have been 5, और फिर हम 5 को use करके 5 इसको input करते हैं, we'll get the coefficient of x raised to power 4 from there. So it depends on what power you're looking for. यहाँ पे 0 चाहिए थी, इसलिए हमने उस power को 0 से equate कर दी. Okay, so that's another way to find a specific term, the coefficient of a specific term of a specific power of x in binomial expansion. Okay, now sometimes what happens is you don't have a single expression, you don't have a single expansion to do, but you also have something else being multiplied. For example, you need to find the coefficient of x squared and the expansion of 1 plus x squared into x over 2 minus 4 over x whole raised to power 6. आपने इस पूरे को simplify करने के बाद जो x squared का coefficient होगा वो आपको figure out करना है. Now, the idea in questions like these is going to be that you look at this expression first. अब देखें x square का आपको चाहिए यहाँ पे, how can you get x square from this whole product? x square आपके पास कैसे आ सकता है? 1 को आप किससे multiply करोगे तो आपको x square वाली term मिलेगी. It's a constant. Constant को you will multiply with x square, then you will get x square, right? x square को किससे multiply करना पड़ेगा? x square को multiply करना पड़ेगा किसी constant के साथ, or in other words, we'll have to multiply x square with x raised to power 0. So we are basically looking for x raised to power 0 and x square in the expansion of this thing. हमें सिर्फ ये दो terms चाहिए इससे, then we can just multiply those terms with this expression. We will get the overall coefficient of x square. Okay, so अब हम क्या करते हैं, हम सिर्फ इस expansion को देखते हैं, सिर्फ हम इस चीज को देखते हैं, x over 2 minus 4 over x whole raised to power 6. We just look at that, and in that expression we try to find the coefficient of x raised to power 0 and x square. In fact, the terms x raised to power 0 and x square वो हम find करने की कोशिश करते हैं. So how do you do that? Again, you've got both methods for that we've just discussed before. मैं यहाँ पे क्या कर रहा हूँ, I'm just expanding. यहाँ पे 2 चाहिए. It's actually simpler to just expand it. Normally, अगर दो दफा वो आपको, अगर आप general term formula use करते हैं, आपको 2 दफा use करना पड़ेगा. That's going to take longer. It's much quicker to just expand it, use the pattern that we talked about. इसको expand करोगे, you get x raised to power 6, then x raised to power 4. Difference 2 का आ रहा है, minus 2 का difference आ रहा है. So next after this is going to be x square, and the next after this is x raised to power 0. So you just look at those two terms. बाकी सब आपने ignore कर दिया. या आपके पास दो terms आ गई, x raised to power 2 and x raised to power 0. You simplify them, you get 15x square minus 160 as the result from that. ठीक है, हमें वो terms मिल गई. इसमें आपके पास x square आ रहा था और x raised to power 0 यानी constant आ रहा था. Okay, ये आपको उस expansion से मिल गया. All you have to do after this point is you knew कि आपको क्या चाहिए. आपको इस पूरे को expand करके x square का coefficient चाहिए. We have found the two relevant values from this expansion, relevant terms from this expansion, which are 15x square minus 160. आपने सिर्फ इनको यहाँ पे input कर दिया. You simplify them, simplify करके you get that this is 15x square, this is the coefficient, this is the term that involves x square, and this is the second term that involves x square. In दोनों को simplify करके we got minus 145x square, and the coefficient of x square therefore turns out to be minus 145. Okay, so that's what you can have to do you may have to do sometimes. आपके पास एक चीज है जिसको आप multiply कर रहे हो किसी binomial वाली expression के साथ. आपने पहले figure out कर लेना कौन कौन सी terms आपको चाहिए वहां पे. यहाँ पे हमें x raised to power 0 x square चाहिए था, हमने वो उसमें input करके find कर ली. Okay, let's move on. Now this is just one last question that we can just do to practice the concepts that we've learned. So let's look at the first part. We have to find the first three terms in the expansion of 1 plus ax whole raised to power 5 and ascending powers of x. Again, it's a simple expansion. A की जगह पे 1 है, b की जगह पे ax है, n की जगह पे 5 है. You just input these values in the formula. and you get the expansion. ठीक है, अभी कर लेंगे. You get the first 3 terms in this expansion. Next it says, given that there is no term in x. What does this mean? No term in x का मतलब है कि x का कोएफिशिएंट 0 होना चाहिए. x term कैसे एलिमिनेट होगी? अगर उसके साथ जो कोएफिशिएंट है वो 0 हो जाए. So given that there's no term in x in the expansion of this thing, you have to find the value of the constant a. So what are we looking for? We're looking for the x term. हम पहले तो हमें क्या चाहिए? हम x term देखते हैं कि x term हमारे पास आ क्या रही है यहाँ पे. अच्छा, how can we find the term in x? Again, just as we learned above, 1 minus 2x is being multiplied with 1 plus ax whole raised to power 5. Now, which terms are really important here? आपको 1 किससे मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा in order to get x वाली टर्म के साथ, और 2x किससे मल्टीप्लाई करना पड़ेगा x raised to power 0 के साथ, यानी कांस्टेंट के साथ. ठीक है, हमने एक्सपेंशन इनफैक्ट फर्स्ट पार्ट में ऑलरेडी कर लिया. जस्ट रिप्लेस दैट हियर. 1 minus 2x into that expression that we found in the first part, 1 plus 5ax plus 10a square x square. यहाँ पे इनपुट किया. How do you get a term in x? 1 को मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे 5ax के साथ, then you get a term in x. Similarly, 2x minus 2x will be multiplied with 1, and that will give us another term in x. You can just ignore the rest of it. Even if you were to expand the whole thing, यही दो terms end पे important थी, because इनके अंदर आपके पास x आ रहा है. What do you do at this point? 5ax minus 2x आपके पास आ गया. Now, since you do not want any term in x, उसने कहा है given that there is no term in x, हमारे पास तो x की टर्म आ रही है यहाँ पे. हमारे पास क्या आ रहा है? 5ax minus 2x, right? So we look for the coefficient. This is the coefficient of x that we're getting, which is 5a minus 2. Now, since there has to be no term in x here, we say that this coefficient should actually be equal to 0. The coefficient 0 होना चाहिए, otherwise हमारे पास x वाली टर्म आ जाएगी. तो इस coefficient को मैं 0 कर दिया. 5a minus 2 equals 0. That gives us the value a equals 2 over 5. ठीक है? Okay, now let the last part of this. It says for this value of a, yani your value of a हमने find किया 2 over 5. Find the coefficient of x square in the expansion of 1 minus 2x whole raised to 2x into 1 plus ax whole raised to power 5. Again, how do you think about this? आपको x square का coefficient चाहिए. Again, 1 minus 2x है, और ये 1 plus ax whole raised to power 5 है. You've done this expansion already in the first part. उसके first 3 terms at least. X square कैसे मिलेगा? Would you have to multiply 1 by 1 को आपको 10a square x square से multiply करना पड़ेगा, and 2x जो है minus 2x जो है उसका 5x से multiply करोगे, that will give you x square. You just do these two products, बाकी सब कुछ आप ignore कर दें बेशक. You simplify that and you input the value of a that you were given, that you found in the early part. इसको simplify कर लेंगे and get your result. Okay, so that's your term in x square at the end. So coefficient of x square आपके पास क्या हो जाएगा फिर? That is minus 12 over 5. Okay, so that's paper 1, binomial expansion. I'll see you in another video after this. If you like this video, if it helped you, make sure that you press that subscribe button, and also share with others who may find this helpful. For more checklist videos, you can see the description of this video. You'll find a lot more there. I'll also be adding detailed videos on most of the A-level math topics in the coming months, inshallah. All right, I'll see you next time. Allah Hafiz.